let's look at the idea of All Saints Day. There's two worlds, saints and sinners, the rest of us. So let's imagine that there's really two matrices or two timelines. And we've been on the sinner's timeline. Karma, learning lessons, making mistakes, learning, getting to be better. So we've been and are in the timeline of karma. And I'll call it, just for today's sake, the sinner's timeline. But the breakout is from sinner to saint, where you move outside this repeating timeline and you move on to another trajectory where you're outside of time, you're outside of karma and lessons and things that seem to be predictable. So let's all commit or recommit to moving outside the timelines. Yesterday, I ran across a story of, again, someone who changed the trajectory of their life. This was in the late 1980s, and a businessman, a very wealthy, successful businessman in Europe named Alfred was, he opened the paper and he looked at the obituaries, and the obituary on that day, and this is lore, who knows, but it's all over the internet. The obituary that day said he had died. And it talked about the merchant of death is dead, the obituary said. And it said, he became rich finding more ways to kill people faster. Well, Alfred was Alfred Nobel in Sweden, and he invented dynamite. He patented dynamite. It was actually never used for war. It was not used for intentionally killing people, but there were many accidents when dynamite was used to blast rock to create new roads. So Alfred reading his obituary and thinking, I don't want to be remembered that way as the merchant of death. And so he decided to give the bulk of his fortune, to change his will and give the bulk of his fortune to set up 5 Nobel Prizes, the one that we know the most, the Peace Prize, but also there's a prize for medicine, for physics, for chemistry, and for literature. So he changed his timeline. He changed his impact on the world by making a different decision. He died at the age of 63. He wasn't very old. So it's, again, just a reminder that in this time, we can leap timelines. We can change what's come before. You know, this month is a powerful month. We're moving even more into the age of Aquarius. Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 19th, and we can feel a lot of changes already. So about changing timelines, one more story. They always come at the perfect time. So this morning I get a call from Brian Besco, and he is he's a wizard. He's just a wizard. Big guy, lives in South Dakota, and he makes things like this that hold energy. He calls them tools for ascension, and they're just amazing. Anyway, I don't talk to Brian very often, but I had put in a call, and he said, and I was telling him how my consciousness has changed, that I'm no longer in me consciousness. I'm much more expanded, and I'm not limited to me. And he goes, yes, that's happening to me too. He said, I've been doing some deep dives into this nothing space, this 0 point, where all possibilities show up. He says, and it hasn't been easy. The deep dives have been through a lot of darkness. So there, even wizards go through darkness. But he said, in this space, and I'm just telling this so we can get ready for moving into this space, it's as if your human self steps aside, and you are this non-time bound, immortal, amazing being. I mean, that's what our spiritual work is about. And that's really the tipping point that we are in now as a civilization. So when you move to the 0 point, all potentials can manifest. We don't have to pick just from this one or from what has come before. And I'm noticing, and Brian said he's noticing, a shift in every way. So then he told me about his sister Brenda. This is an amazing story that's exactly an example of what we're going for today and for the rest of our lives. He said his sister Brenda, they do ranch work. She was working with the cattle, and somehow a cattle got caught in Brenda's finger got smashed between a chute and a cow and crushed her finger. And at that moment, because Brenda's a wizard too, Brenda said, "I accept what is." And I think that was a powerful statement. She said, "I accept what is." She went home, went to bed. I'm sure her finger hurt a lot. But in saying that, she accepted what is and moved into potentials. The next morning, her finger was totally healed. There was no fractures at all. And so what happened really is she moved out of the timeline that a squished finger means recovery and pain. And she could choose from all the potentials. And one of the potentials is my finger isn't smashed anymore. So today, I'm going to bring Mark in, and we're really going to invite ourselves to that 0 point of all potentials where we're amazingly supported and where we're outside linear cause and effect.